Your compassion is the reason you're a target. The very quality that makes you a healer, a friend, and a confidant is the same quality that lights you up like a beacon for those who drain, exploit, and consume. You give, you listen, you absorb their chaos, and you find yourself left with the bill for their emotional damage. By the end of this, you will understand the precise mechanics behind this cruel exchange, and you will see your empathy as something different, a highly advanced radar system. You know the feeling. The phone buzzes with a name that makes your stomach tighten. You answer anyway. An hour later, you hang up feeling a profound exhaustion, a strange, sticky sense of guilt or anxiety that wasn't yours a moment ago. Their storm is past, and now it's raining inside your head. You've become a repository for someone else's pain, a free emotional storage unit. You do it because you are kind, because you see their hurt underneath their anger. You see the scared child inside the manipulative adult. You offer them a sanctuary, but they see a resource, and they begin to test it. The first interaction is always a test. It's a calibration. They offer a small, curated piece of vulnerability, a story of a past hurt, an admission of a minor flaw. To you, this is a moment of connection, a human being opening up. You respond with warmth, with validation, with your full and undivided attention. You lean in. You pass their test. You have just signaled that your boundaries are permeable. You have shown them that you are a listener, an absorber. You are someone who will hold their pain for them. This initial offering is their way of asking a question without words. Are you a safe place for me to put the parts of myself I cannot stand? Your empathetic response is a resounding yes. They now have the data they need. But what happens next is more subtle than simple exploitation. It's a psychic transaction. Think of the last time you were around someone and suddenly felt a wave of inexplicable shame or inadequacy. You were feeling fine, and then you weren't. You might have found yourself becoming defensive, or trying to prove your worth, or feeling a strange need to apologize. The explanation for this is a concept from psychology called projective identification. The person you're with is experiencing an emotion they find intolerable, perhaps deep-seated insecurity or shame. They unconsciously project this feeling out of themselves and into you. Because you are highly empathetic, you are an excellent receiver, you pick up the signal with perfect clarity. You then identify with the feeling, accepting it as your own. You feel their shame so they can feel relief. You've become their emotional surrogate, carrying a burden that was never yours to begin with. It is an invisible, draining, and deeply confusing form of psychological offloading. This dynamic is especially potent in close relationships. Imagine a woman, let's call her Clara. Her friend Mark is perpetually in crisis, and Clara is his perpetual savior. When Mark is passed over for a promotion, he calls Clara. He rages about his boss, his colleagues, the unfairness of it all. Clara listens, absorbs his fury, but then the conversation shifts. Mark's tone becomes accusatory. "You probably think I'm a failure too," he might say. Or, "It's easy for you, you've always had it figured out." Suddenly, Clara feels a knot of anxiety. She feels guilty, as if she's somehow responsible for his pain. She spends the rest of the conversation trying to prove her loyalty, to reassure him, to fix the bad feeling that is now living inside her. The original problem was his sense of failure. He couldn't tolerate it, so he projected it onto Clara, making her feel like a bad friend. She, in turn, worked tirelessly to absolve this phantom guilt. He hangs up feeling lighter, vindicated. She hangs up feeling heavy, used. She was managing his shame, but knowing this mechanism is just the first step. Recognizing the projection is one thing. Refusing to catch it is another. How do you stop something you can't see? The answer lies in shifting from being an emotional sponge to being an emotional observer. A sponge has no choice. It soaks up whatever it touches. An observer maintains a degree of separation. This is a skill, like any other. It starts with a simple internal question the moment you feel that familiar, sticky emotion land on you. Is this mine, Just asking the question creates a microsecond of space. That space is everything. It's the gap between stimulus and response. In that gap, you can choose. You can choose to observe their anger as a storm cloud over their head instead of letting it rain inside yours. You can notice their anxiety as a color they are emitting, a frequency they are broadcasting, without tuning your own receiver to that channel. A boundary is a form of compassionate detachment. It's telling someone, I can be present with you in your pain, but I will not carry it for you. This is incredibly difficult for an empathetic person. It can feel cruel. It can feel like a failure of your primary function. Your whole life, you've been praised for your ability to merge, to soothe, to take on the feelings of others. Now you have to learn to stand beside them instead of inside them. You have to learn that I see you're struggling is a complete sentence. It does not require the addendum, and I will now fix it. A therapist learns this. They sit with the most profound human suffering day after day. They survive because they are trained to hold space, not to become the space. They are the container, the walls of the room, solid and reliable. They are not the floor that gets flooded. This is a learnable, life-saving skill. It is the art of building a semi-permeable membrane around your soul. Of course, the moment you start building this membrane, you will face resistance. The system has been running a certain way for a long time. You have been a reliable resource. When that resource is suddenly unavailable, the person who depends on it will not simply give up. They will escalate. This is a predictable mechanical process known in behavioral psychology as an extinction burst. When an action that used to produce a reward suddenly stops producing it, the subject will first perform the action more intensely, more frequently, and more desperately before the behavior finally extinguishes. Think of someone pushing the button on a vending machine. If the candy bar doesn't come out, they don't just walk away. They push the button again, harder. They shake the machine. They might even kick it. The tantrum they throw is the extinction burst. When you set a boundary with a toxic person, you are changing the rules of the vending machine. Their button, whether it's guilt-tripping, rage, or playing the victim, no longer dispenses your emotional energy. So, they will push the button harder. Their anger will become rage. Their sad stories will become epic tragedies. They will accuse you of being selfish, cold, and unfeeling. They might recruit others to their cause, creating a narrative where you are the villain. I don't know what's wrong with Clara, Mark might say to a mutual friend. She's become so heartless. I was in a bad place, and she just didn't care. The pressure to fold, to go back to being the reliable, absorbent person you were, will be immense. The storm they create when you say no is terrifying. It is also proof that the no is working. Recognizing this storm as a mechanical, predictable extinction burst depersonalizes it. Their rage is a mechanism, it's data. It's the death rattle of a dysfunctional dynamic. Holding firm through this storm is the final exam. It requires you to trust the new boundary more than you fear their reaction. It requires you to absorb the impact of their desperation without absorbing the blame. It is the hardest part of the journey, but on the other side of that storm is a new kind of quiet. It is the quiet of a machine that has finally been unplugged. The person may drift away in search of another energy source that is more readily available. Or, in the rarest of cases, they may be forced to finally confront the feelings they have been offloading onto you for so long. Their path is their own. Your work is to hold your ground. But what does this mean for you? Does it mean you must build walls so high that no one can ever get in? Does it mean you have to kill the most compassionate parts of yourself to survive? The transformation is far more elegant than that. The goal is to graduate from being a wounded empath to a skilled empath. A wounded empath is an open circuit, bleeding energy, taking on the pain of the world as a form of penance. A skilled empath understands that their compassion is a finite and precious resource. It is a powerful, surgical instrument. You would not use a scalpel to open a can of paint. You would not use your deepest gift on those who only see it as a tool for their own convenience. Your empathy was never a weakness. It was an untrained strength. It was a radar system running without a filter, picking up every signal, every piece of emotional debris in a 100-mile radius. The work is to install that filter, to learn to distinguish between a genuine call for connection and a parasitic attempt to offload pain. The work is to understand that true compassion is discerning. It does not require you to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. In fact, that is an act of violence against yourself. The most compassionate act you can perform is to protect your own core. For some, this is more complicated. The source of the drain might be a family member you cannot easily walk away from, or a boss you must see every day. The strategy there is energy management, not escape. It is learning to have shorter conversations. It is learning to use neutral, non-committal language. It is creating small pockets of sanctuary in your day where you can recharge. Each tiny boundary is a victory. Each time you refuse to catch a projection is an act of profound self-respect. You are reinforcing the perimeter. Starting right now, you can reframe your gift. Your empathy gives you an extraordinary perception of the emotional world. You see things others miss. You feel things others ignore. This is a form of intelligence. Now, you will begin to act on that intelligence. You will treat your own well-being as a non-negotiable priority. You protect the source. You are the well, the deep spring of clean water. You are no longer a puddle on the ground for anyone to muddy. You decide who gets to drink. You decide who is worthy of your healing. The lock on the door is not a sign of coldness. It's a sign that what is inside is finally being treated as sacred.